Hey everybody, and welcome back to another deep dive. Today we are tackling anxiety, and to help us with that, we're diving into Sadhguru's teachings.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
It really should, and we've got a whole stack of his writings and lectures here, and I've got to tell you, I think his approach is really unique.
It is, and so much of what we hear about anxiety is all this stuff about letting go and surrendering.
Yeah.
And he actually kind of dismisses that.
He does. He calls it out as like just a buzzword.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think we've all tried that, right? You try to relax, and your mind is just going a million miles an hour.
Right. It's like trying to stop a train with a feather.
Exactly. And what I think is so interesting is he sees the mind as this really powerful tool.
He does.
But he says when anxiety takes over, it's like using that tool with a shaky hand.
Yeah.
So instead of dulling the tool, which is kind of what he says medication does,
right,
he wants us to focus on steadying the hand.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
So good, right?
It's so visual and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And he really argues that most of us were just walking around with this like incredibly sophisticated machine, our body, but we have no idea how to actually use it.
Yeah, so like we need an instruction manual for our own bodies.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
He thinks so much of our anxiety comes from that disconnect.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we're so up in our heads that we've lost touch with our physical selves.
So where do we even begin to find this instruction manual? Like it didn't come with, our birth certificate or anything.
Right. Well, this is where he points to ancient yogic practices.
Okay.
But before we get into that, I think it's important to note that he doesn't let us off the hook by blaming anxiety on, our genetics or our upbringing.
Yeah. He's not into excuses.
Right. He says those things might be factors, but ultimately it's all in the past.
You can't change it.
You can't change it.
Right.
But what we can change is how we understand and manage our minds and bodies right now.
You know what I think that's really empowering?
It is.
Because it puts the control back in our own hands.
Yeah.
So we're not just a victim of our circumstances. You can actually do something.
Exactly. And to really illustrate this point about our potential for change, he uses this really powerful image.
Okay.
He says, even when you're feeling super anxious, your body is still capable of transforming like a simple carrot into a human being.
Wow. I've never thought of it that way.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So even when our mind is a mess, our body is still performing these incredible feats.
That means change is possible.
Yeah, exactly. Even at the deepest level. And so this is where his approach gets really practical and honestly a little surprising.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what is it? What's the secret weapon?
It's something called namaskar.
Namaskar. Isn't that like just pressing your hands together?
It is.
Okay.
It is, but it's more than just a gesture.
Okay.
He says that when you bring your palms together, you're symbolically uniting these two fundamental energies within you.
Like the masculine and feminine.
Yeah, the masculine and the feminine, the active and the receptive.
So there's like a deeper meaning behind it.
Absolutely. So in yogic terms, the right side of your body represents Pingala, the masculine energy, and the left side represents the feminine energy.
Okay.
And when you bring your hands together, you create this balance and harmony within your system.
Okay, I get that, but how does like pressing my hands together actually help with anxiety?
Remember that sharp knife analogy?
Yeah.
So namaskar is like steadying the hand.
Okay.
It helps create a sense of inner alignment and coherence, which in turn calms the mind.
So it's not about suppressing those anxious thoughts.
No.
It's more about like creating a more stable foundation from which to experience them.
Exactly. It's like finding that calm center in the middle of a storm.
Okay.
And what's so amazing about this is that it's so simple.
Right. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, anyone can do it. He suggests doing it for 10 to 12 minutes daily.
Wow.
And while you're doing it, focus on something that really matters to you, something that you can look at with love and appreciation. It could be, the sun, a tree, a loved one, anything that evokes gratitude.
That's interesting. It sounds almost too good to be true.
I know.
But I guess sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound.
I think that's what he's getting at. And what's really fascinating is that this ancient practice, it actually aligns with a lot of modern research on the mind-body connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's growing evidence that practices like mindfulness, which focus on present moment awareness and acceptance, they can really help with stress and anxiety.
And Namaskar is kind of like that.
It is. With its focus on uniting those opposing energies and cultivating gratitude, it taps into similar principles.
It's like ancient wisdom backed up by modern science.
It is pretty cool, but does he just leave us with namaskar?
I was going to ask that because it feels like there should be more.
There is. He actually offers a whole range of insights and practices for cultivating inner peace and well-being.
Okay.
And that's where we're headed next. In our deep dive, we're going to explore how seemingly small actions in our daily lives can have a really powerful impact on our mental and emotional state.
This is already making me rethink some of my own habits and routines.
That's great. And as we move forward, just keep this question in mind. What small actions in your own life might have a surprisingly powerful effect on your well-being?
Okay, well,
All right.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about that all week.
I hope so.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with more from Sadhguru on anxiety.
So, okay, we've got this namaskar thing. That's our, secret weapon for steadying the hand.
Right.
But what else does he have for us? For navigating all those daily ups and downs. It's not like you can just, press your hands together every time something goes wrong, right?
Well, you'd be surprised how much that could actually help you throughout the day.
Really?
But yeah, he definitely has a lot more to say. His teachings go way beyond that.
Okay.
He talks a lot about the energy exchange that we have with everything around us.
Like some invisible energy field connecting us all.
Kind of, yeah. He believes that everything is essentially energy.
And we're constantly interacting with those energies, absorbing them, radiating them.
So it's not just about what we do, but how we do it.
Exactly how we engage with everything around us. He uses the example of eating, something we all do.
Many times a day.
Right. And so much of the time we're not really present when we're eating.
So we're not just talking about mindful eating, like chewing your food and all that.
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
But he takes it a step further. He says the food we eat has its own energy, its own prana, and we absorb that energy.
So if I'm scarfing down chips while scrolling through my phone,
Yeah.
I'm probably not getting the best vibes.
Probably not.
Okay.
He suggests approaching eating with reverence.
Okay.
Like a sacred act, be present, savor each bite.
So it's like the difference between mindlessly filling your gas tank and thoughtfully preparing a meal.
Exactly. Both fuel you, but the experience and the outcome are completely different.
I like that analogy.
And that idea, it applies to everything, our relationships, our work, even just walking down the street.
So even the smallest actions can become these opportunities to, cultivate well-being.
Yeah, if we approach them with the right mindset.
Okay, I like that.
It's not about changing what we do, but how we do it, bringing awareness to each moment.
This is making me think about that question you asked earlier, what small actions could I be doing differently?
Right.
And I'm realizing, I really rush through my morning routine every day.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of hitting snooze 5 times, I could, do a little namaskar.
I love that.
Let's start the day off.
It doesn't have to be a huge change. Even small shifts can make a difference.
Like fine-tuning your internal compass.
Yeah, exactly. Becoming more attuned to the energy you're putting out into the world.
Okay.
And it's really empowering to realize we have so much control over our well-being.
Yeah, you're not just, a victim of your circumstances.
Exactly. And here's where things get really interesting. He believes that our inner state is actually directly connected to the state of the world around us.
Okay, now we're going cosmic again. I'm listening.
Well, think about it when you're feeling internally chaotic, anxious, frustrated.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of project that outward?
You're saying my road rage is contributing to global unrest.
Think of it more as a ripple effect.
Oh.
Our individual energy contributes to the collective.
Okay.
For better or worse. But the good news is the reverse is also true.
So if I manage my own anxiety, if I, cultivate some inner peace,
Yeah.
I'm actually making the world a better place.
Exactly. When we're grounded, when we're at ease, we naturally radiate that peaceful, harmonious energy.
Okay, I like
That's
that.
our contribution to a global shift in consciousness.
That's a beautiful idea, but I'm still not quite clear how we get there.
Right.
It's all about namaskar and mindful eating, or is there more?
Oh, there's definitely more.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to explore in the last part of our deep dive. We'll unpack some specific practices he recommends for cultivating that deeper inner peace.
Okay.
And, creating a more harmonious relationship with ourselves and the world around us.
This is already making me rethink some things.
That's great. And as we head into this last part, just keep this in mind. What practices and principles can you start incorporating to cultivate that deeper inner peace?
Okay.
And who knows, maybe even contribute to a more harmonious world.
All right, I like it. I'm in. All right, so we've covered so much ground here. I mean, the shark knife analogy, the power of Namaskar, and how our energy impacts the world.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, but I'm ready to hear about those specific practices that Sadhguru recommends for actually cultivating inner peace.
Okay.
Where do we even start?
Well, he really emphasizes reconnecting with our bodies.
Okay.
He says most of us, we're so lost in our thoughts, in that mental whirlwind, that we've become disconnected from our physical self.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that. I feel like I'm always living in my head, analyzing, planning,
Yeah.
worrying, and I rarely stop to just feel what's happening in my body.
That's a really common experience, and he believes that disconnect is a huge part of, anxiety and suffering.
Okay.
He says when we lose touch with those physical sensations, we lose access to a source of wisdom and grounding,
That makes sense.
which can really help us in life.
Yeah, so how do we bridge that gap? How do we get back in touch with our bodies?
Well, he offers a lot of different practices,
Okay.
but one of the most basic is just paying attention to your breath.
Really?
Just breathing.
I know it sounds simple.
I mean, I do that all the time without even thinking about it.
Right, he's talking about conscious breathing,
Oh, okay.
bringing awareness to that natural rhythm.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds super simple, but it can be really powerful.
Okay.
It's a great way to regulate your nervous system, calm the mind.
So you shift your attention away from all those thoughts.
Yeah, you create inner stillness.
I could see how that would be helpful. It's like hitting the pause button on all that mental chatter.
Exactly, even if it's just for a few breaths. Are there any specific breathing techniques he recommends?
Yeah, he talks about a practice called Nadi Shuddhi, which is alternate nostril breathing.
Interesting.
It's supposed to balance the energy flow in your body.
Uh-huh.
But honestly, even just taking a few deep breaths throughout the day can make a big difference.
So it's like taking something we do unconsciously and bringing awareness to it.
Exactly.
Kind of like with the eating,
Yes.
making the mundane into a mini meditation.
Exactly. And speaking of connection, he also talks a lot about the importance of movement and exercise.
Wait, so it's not all just sitting around breathing.
No.
There's action involved too.
Absolutely. Our bodies are meant to move.
Makes sense.
And when we don't move, we create stagnation, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, when I'm stressed or anxious, going for a walk or hitting the gym always seems to help.
It does. It clears your head.
So what kind of movement does he specifically recommend?
Well, he's a big advocate for yoga, obviously. But he really encourages people to find anything they enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's dancing, swimming, hiking, whatever gets you moving.
So find what works for you.
Yeah, what brings you joy? And it all comes back to that idea of energy, right?
Yeah.
How everything is energy and how our inner state affects the world around us.
Yeah. So he believes that by consciously cultivating positive energy within ourselves,
Right.
we can actually raise the vibration of the planet.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, that part still sounds a little out there to me.
I know, it's a big idea.
It is. But I'm open to it.
Yeah.
So how do we actually do that? Is it just like thinking happy thoughts?
It's more than just positive thinking.
Okay.
He talks about living with a sense of gratitude and appreciation.
Okay.
When we focus on what we're thankful for,
Uh-huh.
we shift our energy, from a state of lack to a state of abundance.
So choosing to see the glass half full.
Exactly. Focusing on the good.
Right.
And it's not just about feeling grateful, but
Okay.
expressing it.
So to the people in your life.
To the people in your life, to nature, even to challenges, to the things that help you grow.
Along with gratitude, he also talks about compassion and kindness.
Yes.
So treating others with kindness even when it's hard.
Exactly. Extending that love and understanding to everyone,
Okay.
even those who've maybe wronged you.
Wow.
He says when we do that, we heal our own hearts,
Uh-huh.
but we also contribute to a more compassionate world.
I love that idea. It's a good reminder that our actions have a ripple effect,
They do.
and even small acts of kindness can make a big difference.
Exactly. And I think ultimately that's what his message is all about. It's about taking responsibility for our own well-being
Uh-huh.
and recognizing that we have the power to create a more peaceful and joyful world for ourselves and for future generations.
This has been such an amazing deep dive.
I agree.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on anxiety and all these tools for cultivating inner peace.
That's great. I'm so glad. And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about taking small steps, trying things out, finding what works for you.
And maybe in the process, we'll not only calm our own anxiety,
Yeah.
but contribute to a more peaceful world.
It's a nice thought.
It is. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.